Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View podcast. Hope your week is going well. We do these podcasts twice a week on a Tuesday and on a Thursday. We also do daily Leeds United news and are part of the Sports Social Podcasting Network. If this sounds like something that you're interested in, if you can give us a channel rating on your audio platforms and a like and a subscribe and a follow on all of your various different platforms, that would be massively appreciated. Right, we've got Andrea, Russo and Paul Brooker with myself tonight to talk about what's floating around in the transfer sphere and also having a little bit of a look ahead to the Everton game. We'll check in with the boys. We'll start with Paul, who's just rushed back from work to join us tonight. So, Paul, how are you doing, mate? That good, yeah?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
That sort of thing.
Happy birthday, dear Joe. Happy birthday to you.
Sorry about that, folks.
I'll have to do that in Italian too now.
Yeah,
Tanti auguri a te, tanti auguri a te, tanti auguri,
again very self-serving.
Tanti auguri a te.
I'm not going to do it on scale again. No, we won't. Thanks for that, lads. But very self-serving. We're not going to do that. So let's get stuck into the news. Paul, talk to yourself.
I'm good. Right. I'm all right, thank you. Busy day today. I was up at 5:15 this morning because I had to get to Macclesfield to do an induction on site, which was really interesting. And we were doing an install, so I oversaw that and made sure that the lads that were involved doing the installs were all doing their job correctly. So it was good. Then I had to rush back, as you know. I had a chicken nugget. I burnt the inside of my mouth eating a chicken nugget, and I've got a humongous flap of skin behind my teeth that I have to keep licking now. I'm talking and doing this. So.
Biting your lip. Your mouth and you in the last couple of weeks has been a disaster.
Thanks very much, Joe. Yeah, it has.
I don't know what comes out of it. I mean, what's inside of it? If you're not biting your tongue or biting your lip, you're burning your face.
Mate, you're really digging a hole with this one. For the audio listeners, my mouth is absolutely fine. I've had some issues, shall we say?
Yeah.
I did bite a lip when we scored against Man U. That was in and around the same time that I headbutted Jerry in the stomach. Again, not on purpose. And I've had a cold, so I had I forget what you call them now, an ulcer in my mouth, which was great, and now I've burnt the inside of my mouth. I'm a walking disaster zone, is what I am. But other than that, I'm fine. Thanks.
Good. We'll do your Lemsip, whatever that is into you, and hopefully feel a bit better. Andrea, thanks for taking time to join us again tonight. It's always been a pleasure. You're very well received every time you pop on, so it's great to have you on it, and I appreciate you taking time of your evening to spend with us talking about football and Leeds United. How are you doing, mate?
Good, man. And thanks for the invitation. Always a pleasure, and always a pleasure to see the good feedback. It's it never goes under the unnoticed, under the radar. Yes, well, work today like Paul. But then after that, we recorded the podcast with Lockie. It's not going out tonight. Actually, it's going out tomorrow in the end because we ended up talking for drums 2 hours. So
it's me at the best times.
That's a two-parter if ever I heard one.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how we got to 2 hours because we were talking about it was the scouting report of number 9s. So basically, it's the position everyone wants to talk about. Of course, there's been some links recently, So yeah, we try to give Leeds a plan B. Of course, I'm joking because they will have plenty, but we try to give Leeds a plan B if the linked Scandinavian striker that I assume we're gonna talk about doesn't materialize, But yeah, overall good, and always a pleasure to chat with you both.
Yeah, he's gonna come up because it's the only one really that's dragging on, but there is a little bit of other news that's floating around in the transfer stuff. So we'll do the transfer stuff first, and then we'll finish off and we'll talk about the Everton game and some team news from both sides leading into that as kind of a mini match preview of what will be a very interesting game, no doubt, at the Hill Dickinson Waterside Stadium. I'm calling it the Waterside Stadium. It's better named than Hill Dickinson, but there you go. So the first one, and I wasn't going to do this guy, but he's popped up again, and I'm sorry if it's going to upset a few people. I am, and genuinely I am, but it is news and we should talk about it. Harry Wilson. So we know we're not signing him in January. That's a given. So it's okay. You don't have to mash the keyboard just yet, but you can mash it in a couple of seconds when I get to the next point. According to reports from BBC, Fulham's inform midfielder Harry Wilson's contract talks have been put on hold until the summer when he is out of contract, because his manager Marco Silva's contract is also on hold until the summer. He said both of them are out of contract in the summer, and there is growing interest in the Wales international. There are reports today that say Leeds and Everton are the two sides that are the most keen in bringing them in. We obviously know Facundo Buenanotte is in on a temporary deal with Leeds, despite what Team Talk might say that Leeds want him on a permanent. There's nothing in that. And if you listen to the Brighton sporting director this week talking about Buenanotte, he very much said we look forward to welcoming him back to the club in the summer. So they have plans for Buenanotte next year themselves. And he'll have his homegrown status as well, which helps their squad. So Harry Wilson's the first one. Andrea, he's not going to go away. He's this year's Ryan Kent, isn't he? He's just going to keep popping up until he signs for somebody.
Yeah, it's like the recurring story of when we tried to sign his fellow countryman Dan James. That was, or similarly Ryan Kent. Not Welsh, but of course Englishman. But yeah, he's not going away because he's playing well. He's having a good season. Yes, competition too, because there's other players. There's Kevin. There's Chukwueze. There's also in the middle King. Very very good young player for them.
And they're looking at signing Ben Locke's favorite player, Oscar Bob.
Yeah, I saw that, and there will be some signing for them. Absolutely, there will be some signing, and there will be competition. So there's also another thing, if the contract talks of Marco Silva are on hold, maybe because of course Silva has improved him as a player, maybe he can wait to see if Silva doesn't renew the contract, because he's thinking he's saying to himself, if Silva is staying, there's a chance I might stay because I like this manager. I like the way he's making me play this season. I also reflected that not just at club level at Craven Cottage, but also with the Welsh national team. They're calling him they treat him like the new Gareth Bale, especially after the recent European qualifiers and that game against North Macedonia. But if Marco Silva stays, he can stay at Fulham or explore his opportunities. If Silva goes, maybe I can see Silva going to another Premier League club, and if he's a free agent, he might follow him because he's probably thinking, I work very well under that manager. That certain managers have their favorites, or if they have improved a certain player, they feel in depth in a certain way to that manager. So that might be the case for me if both contract talks are on hold. Maybe his camp is waiting to see what happens at Fulham, maybe to see things that are happening at Crystal Palace where everything is falling apart, with Glasner leaving, with Mateta asking to leave. Fulham are a good side. We saw that at the weekend. They are a good side. So if Silva stays, and it's been there since they got promoted, the last time, when they went up, there was, of course, Parker, then everything that went on. They got then Silva, all of that. But he's been there for ages, after they returned to the Premier League. He's basically been the one that turned them into that side that got promoted when they won, of course, when they got there, and turned them into a solid Premier League side, because they have invested, in recent times when they had Parker before then him, in these yo-yo years, let's call it like that. But Silva has been a consistent manager, and it's also probably comparable to Faki in a certain sense because he had failed previously at other clubs, in the Premier League, and he did it at Fulham. He's been a reliable manager in the Premier League. So I think the two things might be connected in the end. They might be connected. They're looking also at the Mateta Glasner case, at Palace. There might be some examples of let's wait and see what happens,
Yeah, Spurs are always looking for an opportunity to take another manager and ruin his upward trajectory and destroy him pretty quickly. So there's always that in the summer potentially as well. If I saw Thomas Frank annoyed Jamie O'Hara this weekend on TalkSport by winning a game of football. One thing I'll never do is I'll never want my team to lose, whether I like the manager or not. I'll never want my team to lose. To see a Spurs fan being annoyed that his team won a game because it saves the manager, I thought was bizarre. But Paul Wilson's having a fantastic season. He's definitely a Daniel Farke type of player. He definitely ticks the box what Farke wants. If he decides to, at some point, which I think he will, revert back to his 4-3-3 system when he's got better technical players to play that system. And it could be a smart deal for nothing in the summer. Assuming Leeds stay in the Premier League, you're looking at the likes of Danilo Duki and you're looking at Harry Wilson. You get two players in there end up costing you nothing at the end of the season, assuming they're still available. So it could be a smart bit of business. And again, the free transfers this year have worked out quite well.
Yeah, well, they have. I mean, could name me a better free transfer duo of, like that's similar to Nemecha and Calvert-Lewin that have managed to do the things that they've done this season. 14 goals between them. Haven't cost a penny, other than wages, of course. But the Harry Wilson thing is interesting that it keeps kind of rearing its head a little bit. And if I'm being 100% honest, I'm a bit bored of it with Harry Wilson, because it is very much like the Dan James situation, where you kind of feel like you're sitting on the edge of your seat a lot of the time. What's going to be going on? What's going to be happening? I thought he was rubbish. Genuinely thought he was rubbish at the weekend against us. But that's more probably down to the fact that we just did such a good job on him, more than anything else. That's not a question of his character or how he plays or to try and besmirch what he's done this season. He's done phenomenally well, and it's typical of a player that we've gone after. He's been absolutely brilliant. Unlike Pajau, who is absolutely struggling at this moment in time. He's having a very, very bad time of it. So, yeah, we've dodged a bit of a bullet there. I think if we're going to go for Wilson, it'll be for free in the summer, if it's open to be an option. I think that the lure of playing with a lot of his Welsh compatriots would be quite strong, particularly Ethan Ampadu, Joe Rodon, Dan James, that side of things. Cal Darlow, assuming that Cal Darlow is still here in the summer. I'm not saying that he's not going to be here in the summer, but I'm just saying assuming that he's still here.
He's out of contract.
Yeah, so it is interesting, but I wouldn't waste time, effort, or money or anything on it at this moment in time, just purely because it's not going to happen until the summer, in my humble opinion. But he is a player that would improve us, but if there is any slight sniff that we could get Buonorte at the end of the season, I'd go for Buonorte over Harry Wilson. That's just my personal preference. In fact, I would probably, if we could, since it's already been out there, I would just wait till the summer, and if we've obviously secured our Premier League survival, I would go and get Schmidt.
I thought you were going to say that. All right, yeah. We were looking at Schmidt during the week, Andrea. I'm still hoping to get that pronunciation right or wrong. I said Schmidt originally, then I was told it's actually pronounced Schmidt. But yeah, he's an exciting looking player, but definitely not happening unless Leeds in. But God, we need a 10, and he's very much a 10, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's a 10. He's a 10. Absolutely. It would have been the perfect 10 if we. Looking at last season, that system, it would have been the perfect 10 for that. Of course, not in the championship because it's not its level. But if we were still playing at the start of the season on that system, probably Schmidt would have been one of the players there. Another one, Paul Nebel, or even, there's 3 German players who are very similar. One of them, I think, is Merlin Roll, who plays for Everton, so we're going to face him very soon, But yeah, Schmidt is a very good player. He's an advanced playmaker, different from Aaronson, because Aaronson is more all around in terms of pressing, more involved, also off the ball. And he's like an attacking-minded midfielder. Now he's turning into a playmaker, but his main trait before this season was, okay, I'm going to try and press and recover the ball, like in your face. Now he's turning into an all-around playmaker, but Schmidt is more conservative compared to Aaronson. He's more like a natural all-around playmaker. Like those type of players that Falke had when he was at Norwich, like Vrancic, like Zipperman, like Moritz Leitner, that type of player. But yeah, if needed, if we need a number 10 in the summer, probably Schmidt is a good name to throw into the hat. But right now, I don't think I've seen Fabrizio's tweet, I've seen Platterman's tweet, but I believe Graham Smith on this one, to be fair, because I think we have already covered that gap with Facundo Buonanotte, looking at the way we are playing right now. So if it happens, he's going to be one for the summer, probably like Dookie, like Wilson. But in that sense, I think we need to pay because I think he still has a contract with Werder.
Yeah, another someone to talk about. But this season's not gone too badly. Last summer's windows looks now on paper. That might change in 6 weeks' time, but it looks on paper as if it's gone pretty well, actually, by the end of it. We'll have to see what happens in the summer. There's the other gaping hole in the side, or becoming a gaping hole, was today's conversation around a left wing back specifically. So Daniel Farke did what he has done in recent weeks, and the journalists, I think, are starting to come around to this. So if you ask Daniel Farke about a transfer story, he'll say, nah, not talking about it. Today's was, we'll stay awake, which is the usual line of, look, if a player becomes available, great. If they don't, not the end of the world. We can go as we are. By the time he was asked it the third time, it was down to, well, left wing back's a bit light. We could probably do a keeping our eyes open there, and we will stay awake. And Graham Smith has said it himself tonight there. He said Leeds United are aware of the situation at left back in the final days of the window, says Daniel Farke. So there is that option. Gabby Goodmanson, it looks like he could be out of the game on Monday night, although he's a doubt at the moment. He missed out on training today with the Leeds United adductor issue, which seems to pop up every week at this point, which is goes hand in hand with the amount of work and the running stats that they're putting in at the moment. That's the injury you're likely to pick up. But it means Leeds are a little light on that side. James Justin has done very well in the right centre-back position, Paul. So do you put him out to left-back, bring Sebastian Bornell in there? Or do Leeds need to go out and get a left wing-back? Now, the names that have initially been thrown around, there's no credibility to any of these right now. These are just names that have been thrown at a wall, are Hugo Bueno, Tom Roth, Ryan Giles, Dennis Serkin. You're not getting Serkin. Forget about it. There's no way they're giving you him. He's a very good player. And Hugo Bueno, I don't know if I would want at this point. But it's one area Leeds are going to have to keep an eye on. He's not going to look at the centre-back position. He seems to think that we're okay. Bial could be back in 2 weeks' time. So all going well. He's on the more positive side of things there. Yeah. So it is number 9 or left wing back at this point. We'll get to number 9 in a minute.
Yeah, the left wing back situation. Yeah, we are light. I don't think we're at catastrophe stage. I do think James Justin can fill in at the left wing back position. I think he has shown that he is sturdy enough, he's reliable enough, he's dependable enough to be able to fill in that position should it warrant it. Byron isn't going to get a look in. The thing with Goodmanson more than anything else is that he's very, very resilient as a player. He's very, very, very rarely injured as well. So I wouldn't stress too much about it until we know setups and we know if he's playing or not. But I've got every confidence that Justin can cover Bogle on the right hand side, and then the three of them in central defence should be absolutely fine. But then we've been being told by Farke that we all say it's a 3-5-2. He's been saying it's been a 3-4-3. So it has been. Yeah, so it's all in and around and all over the place kind of thing. So, but like I said, I've got no worry about if it needs to be James Justin. I'm comfortable. He's shown me enough that he is capable of being able to fill in and deputise.
Yeah, I did like that answer today, and it's the thing that he was criticised for early in the season, Daniel Farke, that he is probably the thing that I'm most happy with right now is that tactical flexibility that he's shown. It's like he talked today about when he was asked about can DCL and Metcha play up front together because one's likely cover for the other, and he said, yeah, but it depends on the opposition and what they do. We're better centrally with 2, but we're weak on the wings if we do that. So if we're playing against sides who are strong on the wings and we play a 3-4-3 and that counteracts that one, I was like, I love this. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I want to see a manager doing. But Gabby's attacking threat on the left-hand side. We will definitely lose something, Andrea, if he is out injured, if he doesn't make the game. Hopefully he does make the game, but if he doesn't, and Daniel Farke has said, like, we need to stay awake in this situation. And that's Daniel Farke's way of saying we're aware and we're watching. We'll see. What would you say around the left back, wing back position? I mean, you're bringing a profile of a player in there, possibly temporarily, because no one's coming in to sit on the bench.
Yeah, I've never made a mystery for me that we need a backup for Goodmanson because Justin is the perfect backup for Jaden Bogle, ideally. I think we need a similar profile because, of course, Justin is more compatible and more conservative compared to Bogle. So even if you play both of them, like I agree on the solution that Justin, if Gabby is not available, should start as the left wing back in the 3-5-2, 3-4-3 formation. But of course, we lose a bit of attacking stretch on that side because he's a different play compared to Goodmanson. Goodmanson is I like the term box to box for midfielders, wing to wing, end to end. Let's call it like that for wing backs. Goodmanson, we don't have another wing back or full back like Goodmanson at the club. So we know that Bogle is usually the more conservative one. If Justin plays on the left, Bogle will need the championship Bogle, the Bogle at the start of the season, because of course it's not down to Bogle. I think it's down to instruction from the manager that he needs to stay a little more back compared to the other wing back, in this case Gudmundsson. So Bogle, that's why he's more conservative, more involved in the build-up compared to Gudmundsson, that usually is involved but off the ball a lot when he makes the run and follows up the play on the left. We don't have one similar to him, so that's why I looking also at other clubs in Italy. For example, I see that Fiorentina, Atalanta, Inter Milan, there's plenty. There's plenty. Basically, every team that plays with a back three, even in the UCL, they have 4 wing backs. Right now, we have 4, yes, on paper, but one of them is Sam Bynum, and I love him to bits, honestly, for what he did at Leeds, especially when I was a teenager, during those dark days when I used to read the articles on an Italian blog. But right now, I think we need one that can relieve, that can cover for Gudmundsson if he's not available. And we talked about this last week on our podcast with Loki. I think 2 profiles, they haven't been linked, of course, but I like Pras from Hoffenheim. I like Donum from Toulouse. Doig, who was linked in the past, before he moved to Sassuolo.
Yeah.
Those players I used to play in a 3-5 formation. So I think the right deals, sensible ones, without spending a lot, are available, honestly. I don't like the fact that I like the players, of course. I like the window, but I thought the window was insufficient because of the lack of depth in certain positions. Of course, these players are covering, like we've seen Justin turning into the new Dallas, basically playing everywhere right now in every position.
Single players covering multiple positions rather than bespoke players to cover each other.
Yeah, exactly. And he's reliable. He's turning into a reliable player, especially considering the fact that he had a lot of injuries when he was at Leicester. The fact is that if Justin gets injured, or even at the weekend, even against Everton on Monday, not at the weekend, if Gabi's not available, of course, it's Justin on the left for me and Vogel on the right. But then you have Strauk, Borna, and Roden, and you don't have any other centre back on the bench, and you don't have any other wing back on the bench, and apart from Byram, of course. And that's the problem. We are really short, And this formation, for me, the wing backs are fundamental. They are key in this formation because they had the freedom to get forward, especially on the left, Gudmundsson, because we have Strauk and Rodon covering for them. Yeah, with the width, it allows them to get more forward compared to the 4-3-3 at the start of the season. So I think there will be players, if you can get the right deal, even Rota, that a player that you named before, those kind of profiles. I think there are players, especially in the Bundesliga or even in Serie A. I'm thinking about Valeri from Parma, that are good, reliable, and will accept to arrive and be a backup at the start, Maybe they want in the right to challenge Gudmundsson, but we know that Gudmundsson is our starter, but we need someone to not overload Gudmundsson, because then problems like the Doxer occur, and these are problems that maybe you return, but then they can pop up again after 2 weeks because they are not easy to go away.
Yeah, and it's good to have good competition behind a player as well, so he knows that he's not guaranteed his position every single week, and it keeps him motivated and pushed. Yeah, we'll have a look at likely more names will start popping up. You'll have every left wing back in the country and outside the country linked with Leeds tomorrow from all the different aggregate sites, so we'll give you them in the room and you can make up your mind on them ones. Paul?
Can I just ask a question to Andrea? There's a little thing that's just popped up on my news. That's why I've been looking to the left, because I've just been reading it as I've been looking at it. Martin Bacciarina is rearing his ugly head again. Allegedly, according to Tutto Sport, that we've lodged, and it's in their print edition on the 22nd, that we've sent a bid of just over 26 million to Como for the Croatian.
Well, I haven't heard that, but his name is always linked with Leeds. I don't think Como are looking to sell him, especially because he scored also recently. Of course, he hasn't been involved as he would have liked for me, because when he arrived, he was supposed to be like the contender or the alternative to Nico Pass on the left, because Nico Pass plays behind the striker, and now they have a lot of wingers like Kun, Diao, Adai. Baturina suffered the most because of the competition that he had.
Yeah,
I need to check also, because I think he had played. I might be wrong, but I think he had played in the UCL early stage, the qualifiers with Dinamo Zagreb. before moving to Como. So if he has appeared for them and then for Como, it's done for the season because he cannot appear for another team. No, he hasn't. So it's he can still move to another one. But for me, Como, especially Fabregas, they always talk in our regard as one for the future, because Nico Pass at the end of the season will return to Real Madrid. They will exercise the recomp, the buyback clause. So I think then the position will be for Baturina to take. So I don't think there's a lot of substance there at the minute, especially listening to what Fabregas always says about Martin Baturina.
Okay, no, that's fine. In all honesty, it's arrived on the ever reliable Leeds press. So,
based out of Central Africa, by the way.
Exactly. So the reason why I'm kind of asking the question more than anything is because the importance of disseminating information and people seeing stuff and running with it at 100 miles an hour, thinking that it's absolute gospel.
Yeah,
I knew as soon as I saw it was from the Leeds press, but I just wanted to. We have a quote unquote Italian journalist amongst us this evening, so why not throw the question over to an Italian journalist and say, "What do you know?" And
it happened to me.
That's a lot of what we get at the moment, and like with the stuff with Strand Larsen, the stuff with everybody. There's so much information that comes from everywhere. It's really, really hard to work out what's what. It makes it really, really tough. I said to Jer that I was doing a video at 1 o'clock this morning because I just had all the information about Strand Larsen in my head, and I'm just thinking, right, for my own sanity, I just need to put something together of like a little timeline of events or something to that effect. And it's God, I'd hate to be a journalist over this period of time, or just somebody that's an ITK.
Yeah. I remember last summer, especially towards the end of May and the start of the new season after June. I had a note in my telephone with all the links of Leeds, and then I made a tweet and I said we are probably the club with the most linked player in that short amount of time. Like between May and June before the transfer window even starts and it opens. But it happened to me. What you just said, Paul. 3 years ago, after we got relegated, when I said I think a good player can be Joel Poyampalo from Venezia. Then, like the day after, I saw in some of those autos like Leeds link with Joel Poyampalo. The day after, and it's happening with Demirovic too, because after we talked about Demirovic like last summer, he says like Leeds interested in Demirovic. Sometimes they take what we said like a suggestion, like a concrete link, in a certain sense. Leeds with Lionel Messi, maybe tomorrow will appear.
Yeah, let's just throw that out there. Yeah, might as well. God damn it.
Well, the Square Ball did it. They put out the Rodrigo de Paul. It wasn't Rodrigo de Paul. They put out a fake rumor that caught fire and ran, and journalists are going out. Yeah, we had wondered that. We got a phone call to say, a text message to say that Charlie Crew will be going out on loan before the end of the transfer window that's been organised with his agent. I put a tweet out for it the following morning. Yorkshire Post had Charlie Crew going out on loan, exclusive. I was like, you sure about that? That's So like everyone's watching everybody. It's a weird time of the year. I always say, take everything with a pinch of salt, and just, I'm sorry for the cholesterol for all the salt, but yeah, it is that weird time of the year. So let's talk about another transfer. It's probably not going to happen then. Let's talk about Jurgen Strand Larsen, has been corrected again. Yeah. Jurgen Strand Larsen. I'll give you the basics where we are with this one right now, and then I'm going to poke Andrea for his plan B. But the plan A of Jurgen Strand Larsen, Leeds are looking, and again, if you read into what's been said from the reliable sources, Leeds are looking for a target man, which is a specific type of profile of striker. Number 9, old school, tall, hold the ball up, win headers, blah, blah, blah. Today, TalkSport, Alex Crook, who's generally fairly reliable. Alex, he tends to be pretty plugged in. He said that Crystal Palace had now gotten involved with this because Jean-Philippe Mateta could be heading to Aston Villa or elsewhere in the next week or so. If that happens, they're looking for a like-for-like replacement, and it's potentially going to be him. Talks have already happened. But this story kind of fell down for me because the wording of it, if you go through it, it says Crystal Palace are looking for a structured deal. Leeds can't afford 40 million, but Leeds aren't looking to pay 40 million. Leeds are looking for a structured deal the same as Crystal Palace are. So the 40 million really doesn't matter in that sense because it'll be broken up over a couple of years. Anyway,
completely immaterial.
Yeah, it depends on what the upfront payment's going to be. If they decide to go with 15 or 20 and Leeds go with 5, then yeah, okay, fair enough. They get him. Assuming either club puts in a bid, because Leeds have yet to put a bid in. It's still an inquiry, and Leeds haven't had a response to that. But TalkSport and in Team Talk as well said, Graham Bailey said that talks are opened between Crystal Palace and Wolverhampton Wanderers for Strand Larsen. He's keen on the move. And that was that. And then, Paul, we saw this evening, out it comes, Sports Boom, so from Europe, that Crystal Palace are chasing Maximilian Bayer for 60 million euro, which is about 52-ish million pounds, give or take.
Really?
Million.
Yep.
Roughly, apparently. So, Andrea, you're tapped into European football more than we are. Do you give this any credence at all, or where's your head at with this whole saga that is now Strand Larsen?
Well, first and foremost, on Bayer, I think the fee is because reportedly there was a link to Brentford last summer, and reportedly they offered 15 million, if I remember correctly. But yeah, honestly, he's doing well at Borussia Dortmund, so I think he's staying there. On Strand Larsen, on the other hand, yeah, I can see that credibility of the fact that he wants to move away from Wolverhampton Wanderers, because let's get back to 6-7 months ago when he was supposed to be a replacement of Alexander Isak at Newcastle, and Wolverhampton refused £55 million from Newcastle. And 2 days later, they decided to turn to their plan B, Nick Woltemade, and he actually signed. But people now are saying, Woltemade is having some ups and downs, but he's scoring. He's proven that I think he's going to turn into a very reliable season after season Premier League number 9. The thing is, Strand Larsen last season was that kind of player, was scoring goals left and right. This season he's struggling, just 1 goal, I think, in the Premier League. Scored 6, but all the others are like in the League Cup and the FA Cup. So of course he wants out.
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
His supply line has been ripped away from him, so he's bound not to be scoring goals. For everybody that's saying that he's cack.
Exactly, and well put out, Paul. Because that's what I was going to say. India, look at Wolves. Everybody wants to go away because they are relying on experiments. On paper they have good players. Like I never liked Tolu, honestly. I remember when he was linked to Leeds, when he was at Genk, and I said no, he's a basketball player. Honestly, he's tall, but I don't like his style of football, honestly. Then they have Wang still there, Fer Lopez is a good player. Joao Gomez is a good player, but yeah, his supply line, honestly, they need to start rebuild now, because of course with that those 2 or 3 points I can remember, I think 3 points, they are down. They are relegated. For me, they are already relegated, and they need to start planning. So of course with the state of the team and the World Cup on the horizon for Norway, is the backup of Erling Haaland. So I think he wants to move to an higher club. Of course, they are not getting any chance. There's no chance they're getting another offer of £50 million. I think the realistic one, I've seen reports of around 40. I think the realistic one is between 30 and 35 for me. Million ones is real value right now, considering last season and the season before, in the season where he played in Spain, in Galicia with Celta Vigo. I think it would be very, very difficult for Leeds because of PSR reasons, and the fact that we still have, of course, the 3 strikers that you have, DCL, Mecha, and Pirot used to play as a 9 in the Championship. I don't think he's a 9 in the Premier League for me. I think he can be a second striker, but we need a different type of second striker behind the main 9. So with Pirot, as reportedly wanting to stay and fight for his place, and the transfer stance of not wanting to move, I think the case is either what we talked about last week of a loan with a mandatory option to buy for BSR reasons, of course, because the cycle ends at the end of the season. Otherwise, you need to find a club for Pirot, try to get some profit, and then reinvest the money where you can spend more, because the competition will be there. Palace, if they sell or loan with a mandatory option to buy Mateta to Juventus, they will have a gap because they only have Nketiah and Uche. Watkins is the only number 9 at Aston Villa currently, with Malen at Roma. Nottingham Forest, they have, of course, Igor Jesus, but Chris Wood and Taiwo Awoniyi are injured, so they need Kalimuendo moving on loan to Frankfurt Eintracht
You
Frankfurt.
brought in Lorenzo Luca on
Yeah.
a 1 million loan
Yeah,
with an
true.
option to buy.
Oh, bloody hell. I know that
Give us some insight
if
on Lorenzo Luca, because you know more.
if I speak, I'm in big trouble, like Mourinho would say. Honestly, I don't.
6'7". Is that what they're saying he is?
He's 6'6". It's like 2 meters. It's like he's really a basketball player, like tall.
Sean Dyche, wet dream.
Honestly,
There's an image.
because he's Italian, I wish him well, honestly. But his attitude, body language. Last season, he had a rift with Tovan at Udinese because Tovan was the penalty kicker, that designed.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. But I know someone at Pisa. He used to be at Pisa. I haven't heard good things, about his attitude, his mentality. Honestly, I hope it works for him. But remember that when he had a great season in Serie B with Pisa, then he moved to Ajax, and Ajax didn't decide to. They had an option to buy, and then didn't decide to exercise that, and that's why he went to Udinese. He did well at Udinese, but at Napoli, with all the expectations that he had, the Napoli fans absolutely didn't like him. I saw a live with Fabrizio Romano and a Napolitan singer, he was saying like Lorenzo Luca would probably go, Fabrizio of course, would probably go to Nottingham Forest, and the singer said, wow, voglio Luca se ne va. It means in Napolitan, oh, he's really leaving, he's really leaving, like this. Yeah, but I wish him well, I hope it works for him, but I really don't like the player and the body language on the pitch, so I don't know if it's the right fit for Forest, honestly.
Not with Sean. I mean, Sean Dyche has a certain way of managing players, and if he's got a bit of an attitude issue, that seems like a powder keg before they've even got in the ground together.
Do you want me to throw another one into the mix for you?
Go for it.
Half an hour ago, Team Talk, and this is coming via Football Fancast, have said that Everton are now also very much so looking at Strand Larsen.
I just let them have them. Let whoever wants to have them. Just get past it. Just get over it and then move on.
Barry and Beto, so they already have 2 similar profiles. So I know that they were trying to swap because of the same ownership, Beto and Dobbik from Rome and Everton. But Dobbik got injured now. It's out for 3 months, so that's why.
Surgery, isn't it? It's just proving the point of what we've been saying for the last couple of days. You've got to don't go big on things. By all means, give the information. Don't go big on stuff because it does come back to absolutely punch you in the nuts at times. So,
me and Jesse, James Marshman had a polite disagreement, to put it that way, on X this morning. It was a polite conversation about basically poo-pooing one of the stories that he put out there, and people were like him saying that he didn't want Team Talk's name dragged into it. They had an exclusive on the Strand Larsen story. I was like, well, you did, but also his odds had gone from 33 to 1 to 2 to 1, and there was people talking about it, and then all of a sudden it was a thing. But like, none of these stories are done and dusted until they're walking around in a shirt and they're doing a presentation. And then even at that, when we signed Buonanotte, even when he had done his interview, some people weren't convinced he'd actually signed for the club. So until you see him on a pitch.
The ghost of Dan James. The ghost of Dan James. So, that's all I'm going to say. That's still haunting us.
At this point, they're all interest and talking points. No one's sure. No one's in the know. 100%.
Strand Larsen, that will drag on until the close of the window, pretty much. That's where my head is at with it, because it's a premium transfer.
Yeah, and this is where Wolves wanted. Like, Wolves were said last week to be playing the waiting game on this and not being in a rush to make a decision, because they knew more teams would get involved in the mix, and the more teams that come into it, the better chance they have, to Andrea's point, of getting 50 million quid for him if they wanted, because the more desperate you get towards the end of the window, the more likely you are to go throw them. And West Ham have been just throwing money at people. So, if they want to throw a few quid this way, they kind of rebrand the channel for them. But that's where you get in January. And as has been said, January market is a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market. Like, it's, if you're doing business in January, you didn't do the business in the summer. And Buonanotte coming in for Leeds is the prime example of, well, we didn't get him in the summer, so we got him now. We probably just need a bit of cover at this stage, but we're pretty calm about everything else.
I think so. I'm not overly concerned, and I think the reason that I'm not overly concerned is because Calvert-Lewin's scoring, Nemec's scoring, other midfielders are popping up with goals. Aaronson has suddenly turned into prime Batistuta, not Batistuta. What's the guy?
Costa.
Rui
There we
Costa.
go. Prime Rui Costa. And it just... Side note, by the way, I am so happy for Brendan Aaronson.
Yeah.
That USA chant from the South Stand as he was being substituted was absolutely brilliant. And on record, I just want to say he has worked his ass off this season and he's getting his just rewards for it. So long may that continue 100%.
I was going to talk about Jesse Marsh tonight.
Don't do it. Rage bait.
Rage bait. And his recent comments about Leeds. But I decided not to because it always ends up causing an issue. And I was going to even caveat by saying, if you're an American, if you're a USMNT fan, this has got nothing to do with you guys or anything about you guys. I just wish he'd stop talking about Leeds. But then I decided, let's just leave it alone because it'll just alienate people. And there's no point in getting into it. Let's have a positive USA story right now. And that's Brendan Aaronson's turnaround in form, even how he's reacted to the fans, singing his name and giving him a standing ovation. And that's, look, we love a redemption arc. Junior Firpo had it last year and Brendan's getting it this year. Look, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we've gone slightly longer on the transfer talk, but that was always likely to happen. We'll get to the Everton game real quick. And we'll talk about it. Team news-wise, coming into it from a Leeds perspective, we got some good news and bad news. We've talked about Gabby Goodmunson. Jakob is closer to a return than Daniel Farke had hoped, about 2 weeks away at this point, which is great news for Leeds to have. Anton Stach is back and available for Leeds, and Daniel James is back in some form of team training, not fully in full team training just yet, and it will take him a couple of more weeks just to get himself back up to speed on the competitive level before he's involved, so easing him back into it. But outside that, everyone else is flying fit and ready to go. Everton, Ndiaye and Idris Gueye are due back from AFCON, but there's question marks around the condition that they'll come back in. Tiredness more than anything else. Seamus Coleman's due back, but he's 754 years old. Then who's confirmed as being out for them at the moment, Michael Keane is out, Jack Grealish broke his foot, and Keenan Dewsbury Hall is more likely out than not, but is listed as a doubt. And they've also got doubts over Carlos Alcaraz, Tim Iragbunam, hope I got that one right, and Jared Braithwaite. So they're not without their own issues, but they've got depth in that squad and they've been doing relatively well without a lot of those players. Andrea, it's an important game on the road for Leeds. We got 3 points against them at Ellen Road. How confident are you we can get 3 points at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, or will we just grab a point and come home?
No, I think a point will be a good result too, but of course, they have their problems. It's a big chance because of all those injuries. If you want to make a joke, Carlos Alcaraz is playing at the Australian Open, because of the same name, But yeah, moving on. Yeah, no, they have all those injuries. These are big names in the end. They have a good squad. Dewsbury or Grealish. They moved one in the summer. They brought in Barry. I don't like the player, honestly, to be fair, but he's proving to be reliable in the Premier League. I don't know the type of player.
He's getting there.
At least Melvin Rule, another good one. But yeah, also the miss of a suspension of Michael Keane.
That's another one.
Yeah,
actually,
that's another one. So it's a good chance, and especially they haven't won at home since December the 6th when they beat 3-0 Forest, if I remember correctly.
15 points at home this season from their combined 32 points all season. So they've picked up more points on the road than they have. It's a bit of new stadium syndrome, but Leeds have only picked up 6 away from home this season, although Leeds away form has massively improved over the last couple of away games.
Yeah, exactly. Because in the end, we have just won 1 away from home at Wolves. But the final, like you pointed out, Jared, the away draws at Sunderland, at Brentford, and we almost took another point or 3 points, at Newcastle. But the recent away performances, of course, Newcastle is a single episode for me because it was a mental game. Honestly, to be fair, it's a one-off. It's like a spin-off in this season. I've seen improvements. I think we can approach that in a more similar way compared to the game that we played at Anfield. To be fair, staying in Liverpool. I think it can be that type of approach, honestly, because of also our problems. We'll have to see if Musso recovers or not. But he would be forced to be more conservative, like I pointed out earlier, with the Bogle being the good Munson in this case and Justin being the more conservative one. In the middle, I think you need to retain Aaronson because he's working effectively. Of course, people are intrigued and ask, is Buonanotte going to play? Is Buonanotte going to play? If Buonanotte is going to play, he's going to play in the place of Okafor for me. But I don't rule out, to be fair, a similar situation to try to match them or outpace them in the middle. Because in the end, their midfielders are not very fast. Garner is very conservative, very good player. I like him. Irok Munam too. Now Gueye and Njaye are returning, of course. So I don't think they'll start, to be fair, but who knows. But an option can be that 3-4-3 we were talking about with Buonanotte and Aaronson behind DCL. But I think the preferred one is the 3-5-2 with both Mecha and DCL up front, to be fair for me. That's the solution I go for, honestly, because we've seen that in games, and I think it can work against this Everton side, especially looking at the defections that they have in the side. It can help us to get the ball more forward, considering that we are missing the powder on the usual powder on the left wing. Honestly, Okafor, I think he needs to improve. I think he needs to be better. He has the opportunity and the quality to be better, but sometimes you need competition. So if it is Gnonto, if it is Buonanotte, if it is Match, I think this one you need to give a chance to another player, to be fair, alongside Calvert-Lewin. So I think a match of Calvert-Lewin can be a good option. Otherwise, Buonanotte, Aaronson behind him with the usual Gruev and Ampadu in the middle. Yeah. And Longstaff, I don't know Longstaff now in this system if he's gonna play or not. So we'll see. It seems like after the injury, he's a little bit frozen out in a certain sense. Where do you put him? How do you put him into this new formation? Because when he got injured, it was at the start of our switch. So where does he play? Where do you put him? What can he offer you? That's my questions going on into my mind, in this formation. Yeah,
it's a dilemma for Daniel Farke, and I think it's probably a good dilemma to have as well, because it's the same question with Facundo Buonanotte, and I actually like the response to that as well. He's a good player, he's a talented kid, he's got an awful lot about him. He can find the final pass, the set pieces are good, but he's got to earn the right to play for Leeds United. He's not going to walk straight into this team, and he has to show in training that he can take somebody else's spot. And Sean Longstaff is in exactly the same position. These players got injured, and the players that have come in for them have done well and have retained their shirts. I mean, I was looking at Ilya Groove's stats this week, as somebody was asking how often he gives the ball away. Ilya Groove's got a 90% pass accuracy this season. Like, I mean, his defensive, he's won 68% of his defensive duels this season. He's got better statistics in defensive midfield than Rodri has at Manchester City. Different teams, different scenarios and all that, game states. But the players that have come in have done a really good job. So Daniel Farke's got a headache, Paul, but it's a good headache to have because it means he's got depth and he's got options.
Yeah, he has. It means that we can be fluid during the game. It means that we can adapt to certain situations. It means that if we want to, we can switch it to a 3-5-2. We can switch it to a 3-4-3. We can switch it to a 4-3-2-1 if we need to as well. There's potential for us to be able to move everything around. I mean, don't forget, we've got Tanaka, we've got there's Stack, there's Willie that can come in as well. So our midfield is very, very good. I agree with Andrea. I think the two up top in terms of Nemecha and DCL being up top is a really, really good option, purely off of the basis of that you've got Tarkowski and you'll have probably O'Brien that'll be in the centre of defence. And, we've got not big lumps. I wouldn't say big lumps, but then we've got two big lads that are quite skillful as well, but also at the same time that will be able to bring in other players. I think he'll probably go with that kind of more 3-4-3 system that he's been doing. I think that's what he'll probably use in the game, just purely because the partnership between Aaronson and DCL, and also it gives him the excuse to be able to bring in a Buonanotte if needs be, or to start with an Okafor and then bring a Buonanotte on. And just that strength in the centre of midfield as well. You could swap Gruev for Stack. You could swap him for Longstaff. You could swap him. There's options there that you can go for, and it's nice to have that depth. The defence for us, yes, we've got somebody injured, picks itself pretty much. It was the remarks with regards to the keeper was interesting. Basically, in a roundabout way, he's basically said Darlow is going to be number one for the foreseeable because currently he's not done anything wrong, so he's going to keep it in there.
Should be the way.
Oh yeah, 100% right. There should be that element of competition for the space, and I think Perry is the type of player who has the mental fortitude to be able to take that on the chin and then prove himself again. He had to do it after he got his injury, so he could be there to do it again. But that Justin Rodon, Strauch, or even Justin if Goodmanson's not playing, and then you bring in a Bornow's not looked out of place. So as the season's going on, I'm getting more and more comfortable.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more comfortable with the squad options that we've got. And that's because, as I said to you earlier on this week, the pleasing part of this season for me has been seeing the evolution of not only the manager, but also the team as well, and how they've grown into the league. Predominantly, second half of seasons for Farke tend to be his better part of the season. So should that trend continue, then fingers crossed, hopefully we should be okay.
Yeah. Well, I've been in this situation before where after we signed Weston McKennie in a January transfer window, I thought that's a decent window. We should be all right. And down we went. Then we signed Connor Roberts in another window. And I said, that's probably all we really needed. We missed out on promotion. Then last year I said, we didn't do enough in January and we won the league. So, the January window is always there to kick up some surprises. What the hell do I know about football? But yeah, that's where it is, folks. We'll wrap it up there because we're getting close to the hour mark. Now, massive thanks to Andrea and to Paul for taking time out of their evenings to join us tonight. Pleasure. We will have some form of a statistical-based match preview before the end of the week, so likely Saturday or Sunday. Keep an eye out for that. And we'll have a news video on Saturday as well as tomorrow morning. So you can, any updates, anything changes. Also, just to point out, Reece Chadwick signed a new contract at the club, which is very positive. And that's a great news story as well. A talented young player that can hopefully break through and be one of the next players to represent Leeds from the Leeds Academy. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there, though.
The picture of the new centre-back signing, I know we're near at the hour. Actually, as a specimen, he's unbelievable.
He's a huge lad. He's a big guy. Yeah, he's a big guy. So he's in. Not done 21 side tonight at playing Anderlecht, but we'll give you the detail on that tomorrow morning. So, yeah, that's it, folks. Massive thanks, as always, for joining us. Talk to you later. See you. Bye.